It's recording time again, folks. Welcome to Blueful Boosting, where we turn your downtime into uptime. What's the topic today? It's going to be a bit of a rough one, and I have no clue how this is going to go. But it's a personal issue that I want to make into a video. Because in a lot of ways, it's hard to feel accepted, to feel wanted, to feel valued when, in one shape or form or another, you're consistently told you're wrong. This thing you're thinking, you made it up. This thing you're telling me, I hear you, but we're not doing anything about it. And this sounds like super basic and super vague, but I'm going to give a few examples. Some examples that people might not like me saying. But the truth of the matter is this is for the general public, for anyone that might run into this and perhaps get some inspiration from it. And yes, I can and will mention situations that might have affected me. Depending on how personal the subject matter is, I might tell all or mask it in a way that's still kind of sort of still appreciating the person's privacy, I guess. I don't really know what other way to put it, but also do better, you know. So all that said, childhood was a bitch. And I want to precursor this with my parents did my best. My parents did their best in their given situation. So, for the most part, I'm not going to frame this as some abusive childhood. That's not what happened. But a few key things have shaped my life in regards to acceptance. The big one being upon coming here for one of my years of middle school at the time. I wasn't doing too good in school. And I was also very depressed. I believe I had just gotten over a breakup, which only means so much at that time. I think it was 8th grade. It only means so much, right? But at the time, it's a big deal. But maybe it was 8th grade. It was sometime in middle school. It might have not been 8th grade. That might actually be further in. I forget exactly when I moved to Florida. I remember the age, not so much the grade. Maybe it was 6. I don't recall. It's been too damn long. Anyway, middle school stuff, not high school, is the point, I guess. And that doesn't diminish a feeling, right? Just because you're a kid doesn't mean you don't necessarily know what the feeling is, or a teenager, you don't know what the feeling is. But the problem with specific family dynamics, if not families that just simply don't believe in the concept of mental health, is if you think you might need that kind of help, you're just not going to get it. So, with the two things that I mentioned, I felt like I needed a therapist. Did I know how that was going to go? I was kind of scared, yeah, but I felt like that was an option for me. What was chosen was the academic one. Why? Because school's important, and you're going to use all these lessons in school in your future. It's going to be so great. Outside of doing my finances, which, I taught myself, I did not learn in school how to pay bills, how to do taxes, how to do any of the important stuff when it comes to the math that most people use, outside of select careers. So that's useless, but that's what was prioritized. It was a tutor that was prioritized, not the help I felt like I needed at the time. And all the way up to the point where I somehow found the way to graduate. And needless to say, it was not with like amazing numbers. It was just barely enough, right? I was not great at school, which is interesting because I used to be what they call a magnet student. And then, I don't know, when I moved here, I became stupid. Like, I don't know. It's the way I'm going to phrase it to be ridiculous because I don't know what actually like happened. Maybe it was just a combination of things. Maybe it's something I could have found out in therapy. I'll never know. I would get therapy later in life for entirely different reasons. Maybe that's a story for another video, but for years I went without one. Not because I didn't think it was valuable, but I've been denied it for so long, like, what do I need it now, right? Which is stupid thinking on my part, I realize that looking back. But it's silly, and you know, some people might see this as, like, minor. And in the grand scheme of things, it is. People have shitty childhoods, abusive childhoods. Short of one situation I can think of, which I may or may not tell at some point. I can't really say anything like that. And like I said, folks did the best they could, given their situation. It is what it is. But that shaped things in such a way where it changed everything in the sense that, can I feel safe to say this thing and, like, actually be taken seriously, or even, like, listened to? Like, period. Listened to. Like at all. Like, maybe even humor what I'm just saying. Right? And they're more, I left Discord on, I'm closing it now. Here's a more minor example. Right? The energy efficient temperature for an AC unit is 78 degrees. Years apart, I found data supporting this information. I think one of the times it was from FPL directly, which is the company that powers stuff here in Florida. But, or maybe it wasn't there. Like, they might have been part of it, but I had found various information because I felt like we had a place in Coral Springs, and the place was always 80 degrees or higher because the AC wasn't even on at all. That's just not acceptable in the Sunshine State to me, right? So I didn't ask for anything crazy. Just turn it down to 78. It would always go right back up to 80. And 80 is 80 plus, because again, if it wasn't on, obviously it would get hotter. And really at 80, it's kind of a waste because it might not actually do anything. So I showed data supporting this cause. And we didn't care. Sounds minor. The things add up. Let's go to a different example. Let's say that you're with a loved one, any loved one, right? And you feel in your heart that, hey, when we do a certain activity, right? When we sit down and have food, right? And we're eating, we're having what we want to have. We go out to eat. I'm making this one up, but hopefully the overall point is there. We go out to eat. I decide to have sushi. You decide to have a hamburger, right? We chose kind of different things there. But every time we go, you feel the need to point out that you would never have that. That's cool. You have the right to your opinion. I'm not going to fault you for that. That's your choice, right? But what if every time you do that, there's some kind of like backhanded comment like, I don't know why you eat that, or I would never eat that. Yeah, you made that clear, so like, why are you telling me this again? Other than to maybe like low-key try to enforce it? Like, does it have to be that way? Does it have to only be your way or no way? It's a very not the best example. So we'll go with one that's a little more not made up. My dad and I, rest in peace, used to butt heads a lot over the company business. Our company business was carpet cleaning. We had different ways where we approached the work. And at a certain point, the work became I wanted the physical load to go on me because my folks were aging. I didn't want mom lifting a buffer upstairs, for example. And at a certain point, I didn't want dad doing it either. So I took that burden upon myself. So a lot did fall on me, which is fine. That in itself was never the problem. The problem was how we got the work done. And to date, I never had a customer complaint on the jobs that we went on. But it wasn't done by the book. It wasn't done in the exact way that dad wanted. So we would get into a conflict over that. Sometimes these got more heated than I feel like they needed to, but it's like, why do you have to do it this exact way? It's like being in math class, and it's funny we're circling back to that. Show your work. Why? Why? Other than to potentially prove you didn't cheat on a test. Which even that I don't think would matter in real life. People cheat all the time to get ahead. Which is really the main point. If you solve the problem, why do you have to show your work? If you solve a problem in a business, you're not going to be told show your work. You're going to profit for the company. Why the fuck would you need to show your work? Why does it matter? You solved the problem. That's so damn stupid. You draw something? Yeah, maybe people are interested in the process. Show your work. That can be appreciated. There's a use case for that. I'm going to show my work in numbers for a math equation that for most people won't be used for anything outside of school, just to measure you on a scale? Really? This video is very random. And just like everything else, I'm going off the cuff, right? But my main thing is, if you feel strongly about something, you are not making that up. That thought stems from somewhere. And the thing is, you can even completely disagree with the other person upon hearing that from somebody. But to sit there and make it like the other person's crazy, and or just flip around and make it about you, one, you're doing a disservice to whoever you're talking to. Two, you're actually being disrespectful to the person you're talking to. And three, I would go as far as to say you're also being disrespectful / dishonest to with yourself. Because you feel uncomfortable by the subject matter. Because you feel a type of way. And you have your own stance, and you have your right to feel those feelings. It does work both ways. But when that occurs enough times in your life, that starts to affect you differently. Maybe I shouldn't bother expressing myself anymore. Maybe I should just shut the hell up. Right? Or you take the opposite approach because we're supposed to be adults. Let's talk about it. But you hit that roadblock. Because for one reason or another, the other person is uncomfortable. Then how do you solve anything? How do you solve anything that way? Humor me. Put yourself in my shoes. If something feels off, you feel it in your heart. Most rational people do not just wake up and say, how am I going to ruin this person's day today? They just don't. Especially with like everyday responsibilities and stuff. There's more important shit to do. So maybe hear them out. You're going to know after enough times if it's somebody crying wolf or if it's something that they really feel, like if it's something serious. You're going to know. Take a chance. Fuck it. You could be the most stubborn asshole on the internet. I don't care. Give the person a chance. You might be surprised with the result. Someone you once considered stubborn might actually be pretty open to things. But you're not even willing to hear them out. This might be the most animated I've gotten on a video, but you know, it's just, it really... It's a big deal for me. Juggling between anger and sadness. Or something in between, or something entirely different, depending on how you want to look at it. You just become numb to it. But then at that point, there's no coming back. Because there are people I've cut off from my life. And when I cut somebody off, one, you fucked up. Like, big time. And I gave you several chances. And two, you're not coming back from that. Why? We're not getting any younger. Right? You show your hand enough times, you know, fool me once, as the saying goes. Fool me twice, shame on me, shame on you. Or shame on me. Shame on me. Like, we're not doing this. You know, maybe like I'll be generous and do a 3 strikes you're out or beyond that. But like, do you need that if the person keeps clearly showing signs of disrespect? They're not willing to hear you out in any way, shape, or form, and it just loops back around to them. Or I hear you, but here's why I did what I did. So you're justifying the shit behavior? Get the hell out of here with that shit. I'm not hearing it. In the same way you're potentially not hearing me, don't try and sell me on what you might be feeling, which again, might be completely legit. But you've already shut me out. So what incentive do I have to hear you? And I won't always do that. But if you've shown me clear as day, with words and or tone, that you don't care at all about what I'm sharing, or will even humor it, there's nothing to talk about. And on that note, that's where this one's going to end. I don't think there's anything else to talk about in that regard. And in a weird kind of way, this was actually kind of exhausting to record. But we did it first thing in the morning. I wanted to have thoughts fresh coming into this. When's the last time you felt you weren't heard for a particular situation, and how did you treat it? How did you get over that or process it? Or did you just push it aside? Maybe you've gotten to that numbness point, or that, people's behaviors a lot of times are kind of a reflection on themselves, so you just don't worry about it. What do you do? When's the last time you were gaslit by a loved one? When was the last time you were gaslit at a job? When's the last time you were gaslit by a friend? What did you do? Drop it down below. I look forward to hearing from anybody, depending on who gets eyes on this. Take care, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Later.